Hello over the peakers. Website. In the comments section on the video I did to Acrobat that I felt had to be answered about whether there are doomsayers in every generation, and we kind of agree they are, and I thought it was a valid comment or question to the doomsayers. Come on now, justify yourselves. I think that was a valid sort of question, and I think as doomsayers, if that's, I hate categorization, but if any of us put ourselves in that category, I think we do have to justify ourselves. Comment on that from Carl. So in short, yes, there have always been doomsayers, and I'll just note here, from doing 4 years of YouTube and answering an awful lot of comments, when you get a comment that starts with the word "so", watch out. It's not going to be pleasing, and I don't have enough experience of talking to people in real life, so I don't really know, but I imagine it pertains also in real life. If somebody starts a sentence or a whole expression to you with "so", watch out, prepare yourself and say, I'm going to keep calm here, because generally it's not going to end well. So in short, yes, there have always been doomsayers, and each generation thought that because they could not see a way forward past the oncoming crisis, that they were somehow different from those that had predicted doom before them. In other words, each generation has a group of people who can't see the way ahead, so go, Okay. Everything Mystic said is true. The oil is running out, and no one can see a viable way to replace it. We like that, don't we? But that is just missing the point, and you always get something like that after a "so". No one ever sees the solution coming. The Germans have a saying, the sky is always falling. Now, I looked at this and looked again, with my radar alerted by the opening "so", but even so I had to look at that and go, no, sorry, that is not like Acrobat's comment, where doomsayers, as I say, were asked a valid question that they should justify themselves. This is a completely empty comment. It is vacuous. It has nothing about it at all. It says nothing. But that's just missing the point. No one ever sees the solution coming. So what? That means nothing at all, I'm afraid. Nothing. Now, I felt this deserved a video, but not quite. So I'm going to open it up slightly more. I'll run that through the people again, just so you understand how I'm being a bit naughty on this, because everything Mystic said is true. The oil is running out and no one can see a viable way to replace it. That's what we're about. We're saying we do not see a viable way to replace it. But that is just missing the point. What point? No one ever sees the solution coming. Now that is the point, presumably here, that no one sees the solution coming. Even if that was true, so what? It just does not make any sense, that comment. Well, it isn't that it makes no sense, it was not worth saying. It was so vacuous and empty. It was a nothing comment. So I'll be a bit harder on the doomsayers, and I'll put myself in that box, although I hate putting people in boxes and certainly hate putting myself in a box. Let's try it this way. The Germans have a saying, the sky is always falling. let's say halfway through the First World War or halfway through the Second World War, there were probably doomsayers in Germany saying that the sky is falling because they could not see a way forward. Now, we can say from this comment, we can extract from it the implication that after the First World War, Germany went on. The people that were still alive after the First World War went on, and the next generation bumped into the Second World War. The ones that were alive ran after the Second World War, eventually to have East Germany and West Germany to reunify the country to the Germany that we have now, that's quite big and dominant, and life goes on. And that's the great, if there's anything that can be taken from this comment, it is that life goes on. Now, personally, I have a bit of a thing about that, is that I think that is an empty and vacuous comment, because I think that the people that say things like that or imply things like that should in some way have to back up what they are quite saying about this life goes on thing. As in, there are two things here. Some people will say, okay, all the money goes away tomorrow, all the oil goes away tomorrow, life will go on. It won't be the same, but life will go on. Or if it leads to a war and then a nuclear war and half the population of the planet get killed, life will go on. And we have to ask ourselves, I think, seeing it's the weekend, and this is the time on Over the Peak, if there is a time, for philosophical comments such as, so bloody what? What is this life? Whether we lead it with fancy new cameras and overthepeak.com, YouTube and Vimeo, or we lead it scrabbling in frozen fields with potatoes and turnips. What's it all about, this life? Or, if that's too big for us to get our arms around, as I think they say nowadays, what are we going to miss? What, when the oil runs out and when the money is either printed up to try and replace the oil or whatever happens, and faith is lost in our medium of exchange, and trade stops, and Walmart and Tesco's and Toyota go away, what will we have? Or as I say, that's probably too much to get our arms around. We could say, what will we miss? Or I could say, what are we doing here? What is it? Just that we are the generation, or the part of the generation, that don't see the way ahead and are jumping up and down and saying, look, we don't see how this can be, this thing going forward. We just don't see. And standing, shouting and waving flags about. What are we trying to attract attention to? What are we trying to attract attention for? What are we warning people for? Are we trying to convince ourselves? Are we trying to convince others? Are we trying to convince the general public? Are we trying to convince the world? And if so, what for? What do we fear is going to go away? How will it be, this thing? What are we doing here, basically? Why are we communicating our fears about not being able to see how it will be, this thing? Why? What are we doing? That's the easy sort of question for the weekend. I'll leave it with you. Comments and videos and whatever. Bye.